Hi everyone, my name is Ian Morton. I'm with Protech Industries, and today I'm going to walk you through the installation of our new steel cab rack for light trucks. This cab rack right now is available for the big three manufacturers, Chevy, Ford, and Ram. Comes in a black powder coat finish. It's a really heavy duty alternative to our aluminum racks. First thing I want to cover is what you need to do the install. These are things that do not come with the rack. We use 3/8 hardware, but I like to use 25/64 drill bits. It's a slightly larger hole, gives you a little more room. You're going to need to get 1.5 long 3/8 bolts. I prefer to use the stainless. These are 3/8 16 stainless button head, and then 4 washers and 4 nuts. I use the zinc plated nuts instead of stainless nuts because galling is an issue if you use stainless. The next thing you're going to need is a 7/32 Allen wrench or socket. I use the socket generally more than the wrench, and 9/16 wrench and or socket. I like to use power tools, so I'll use a 3/8 drive DeWalt impact here, as well as my drill. And then I like vice clamps. They're just easy to use, but you're going to need some way to clamp the rack to the bed so you can safely drill it without it moving. And then I throw in a couple extra rags to protect the finish on the rack from the clamps. Now, what does come with the kit is your mounting hardware and feet and the rack itself. All of these are steel. The hardware, just like I said before, it will come with 4 2 3/4 long 3/8 16 stainless steel button head bolts, and then again steel zinc plated nylon nuts and 4 washers. Very important that you wear your PPE. I got safety glasses on, I got gloves on. Nothing on these is necessarily sharp or dangerous, but we will be drilling holes and using hand tools and power tools, and so better safe than sorry. Now I think I'm just going to get into it.
So the first thing we're going to do here is drop the 2 3/4 3/8 16 bolts in here. There are 4 holes in the bottom of the rack. Go ahead and drop the bolts in, and then we'll fit the feet up. You can clamp the foot on. I'm just leaning into it a little bit. They're not heavy, so it's pretty easy to do it this way. Then put the washers and nuts on, and do not tighten these bolts at this point. We're going to tighten them later in the install. Now you got your bolts installed and the feet are loosely on the rack. Now get someone to help you and we'll set it up in place on the truck. Right here, make sure that it's flush with that bulkhead. There's not really any measurement that needs to be taken here. It just needs to look really good on the truck. So that's the key. That's what I'm looking for here, is make sure that we're flush with the truck. At this point, I like to clamp the rack down. So have your helper hold the rack in place. Get the feet lined up with the rails as best you can. We'll adjust more later, but at this point, just get it set up here, flush with the bulkhead on the bed, and lined up with the side of your bed rail, and then clamp her down. So before you drill your holes, you're going to want to look under your rail here. And you see these little clips. Try to avoid those. This bed already has a couple of holes in it from a previous install, but we're going to try and drill through up here, and then there's another hole in the back that already exists, but you don't want to drill through here in this space. All right, so as you can see here, drilled as far forward as I can get. Make sure you're going through the steel, not the plastic. I'm very, very close, or actually this bed's aluminum, but make sure you're going through the metal, not just the plastic. It's not going to hold as well on the plastic, right? So that's as far forward as I can get in this particular truck. The other hole, that was a little easier, just because it was right there in the middle. So at this point, we're going to drop the bolts through the holes that we drilled, put the washers on first, then the nuts, and then we'll tighten these up and move to the other side. Do the same thing on this side. Make sure you're drilling through the metal, not the plastic. Also, if you notice, I just check to make sure my foot was still lined up. I do that frequently as I do these installs, just make sure everything's still lining up and looks good on the truck. All right, now your feet are installed. Next step is to tighten the bolts through the cab rack to the foot. I just do this one at a time, one side then the other. So you notice at this point that I'm using hand tools, not power tools. I want to be careful not to over tighten these bolts. The technical torque spec I think would be 26 foot-pounds. I just make sure that they're really snug. You have 2 or 3 threads sticking through the nut, and nothing wiggles around or makes any noise. And there you have it, your installed cab rack.
There's our light truck steel cab rack install. If you like this video, like and subscribe, and visit us at protech.net.